Yeah, I think the recording has started, right, Vivek? I can see the button.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much, Vivek, for the warm welcome. And my name is, I'll just introduce and then we'll start with the presentation. So, the agenda for today's workshop is to understand consumer complaint classifier. This is one of the part of the customer analytics pack, which has been actually provided and which I deployed on CellStrat platform, which is also available for your consumption. Apart from that, my area of research is consumer analytics. I'm working here at IIT Delhi and pursuing my PhD. And I've been working with CellStrat for, I think, for last 2 to 3 years. And I've taken certain parts of this consumer analytics pack. And there are certain analysis which I have performed earlier as well, which you can find on CellStrat page. So this is something that my area of research is. Apart from that, my profile is also available on LinkedIn, where you can see the different projects where I have worked upon. I basically worked on the integration part of the analytics and the business applications, and how to strategize the results of the analytical models and analytical solutions. Most of these projects are actually focused on consumer analytics, because my forte is actually how to we can extract value from consumer data, and what are the different methods which are available on the contextual side and on the theoretical side as well, which can provide value for business, leading to a competitive advantage, leading to actually building loyalty from their customers, and actually implementing a lot of other strategies from their product and service end as well. So this is something that I work upon, and I'm just in the verge of actually completing my PhD in IIT. And so today we'll discuss about the consumer complaint classification, and we will discuss that how the complaint classification has been utilized by businesses, and what are the potential application of this classification model embedded with ChatGPT as well, because we are seeing that every part of the analytics has been disrupted by OpenAI models, and specifically ChatGPT. So what I have done is that I have also augmented the code with a solution which can be provided by using the OpenAI platform, and how actually these platform can be utilized according to your problem solving equation, and according to your problem solving of the project. At the end of the presentation, we'll go on the code, and I'll explain each and every part of the code, that how we actually comes up with the problem solution. Apart from that, I have also incorporated one case study, so that you understand that how we actually implement these consumer complaint classification models. So I'll just share my screen, and we'll begin with the concept. And, yeah, I hope my screen is visible to all. So yeah. So the main part of the consumer complaint classifier, or we can, if we just divide this word of consumer complaint and classification, is derived from the phenomena and from the journey of your customer. So there are three phases, which is generally accepted by the research community, that your customer do initial research when they are into the pre-sales phase of their journey, when they are actually about to buy a product or service, and they are searching about the product or service, and they are searching about the reviews of a certain product or a service. Then the phase come where the customer actually interact with your organization or interact with your businesses, and that is the transcending point where the customer actually becomes the part of your organization and becomes the part of your internal organization. Now the most important part is when the transaction happened, right? So when your customer start their post sales journey, or when your customer have actually consumed your service or product, and they go forward with your product and service. Now most of the organizations have realized that a satisfied customer, a customer who actually consume the services post the sales and post actually buying the product or service, actually impact that how frequently the customer will do the repeat purchases, and how frequently will customer will actually provide a positive word of mouth to other customers or to other potential customers. So we understand that the complaints part of the consumer is something which plays a very significant role in understanding your customer experiences. It is very critical when you are having a subscription based model, when your services are based on a subscription base, then how you are actually providing the solution to the complaints of your customers, and how fast actually you are actually acknowledging their complaints, and how fast you are providing any solution to their complaints. What is the interaction point? Are your platforms or are your business teams are available 24/7 to actually address your customers? Because that play a very critical role, that when a customer come to your platform having a purchase your product or a service, and then they want to actually have an inquiry about something, some issue, how promptly actually your platform is responding to those complaints to for your customers. So a classifier model actually categorize, it does the both part. It also categorize and analyze your consumer complaints and can help businesses identify patterns, prioritize issues, and make appropriate actions. So there are two categories of classification model if you see in the general business scenario. One category is that you are handling your CRM team. So customer comes to your platform, opens your website, and actually reach to your organization or reach to your business and file a complaint. That is something that most of the queries which are generated from that platforms are labeled data. And because you have a labeled data, most of the time you perform a regression based model or a logistic regression, you use SVM models to actually prioritize your complaints or classify your complaints. Now the other part happens when your customer goes to certain social media platforms, or your customers are are putting their reviews on Amazons, or if your product is available on Mintra or Amazons, on these e-commerce platforms. Now what happens there is that there are two phases which you can via which you can see that how your customer are experiencing your services and products. One is very directly when the customer is coming to your platform, and that is very forefront. You are able to collect that data, you are able to label that data as well, because that is happening on your platform. The other part is which is happening on some social media platforms. So the simultaneously scrapping methods of your hashtags or of your product or your services is very important and very critical, because the loyalty of the customer depends upon what kind of eWorm and what kind of reviews the customer is providing on these platforms. Most of the websites are, I'm not sure that whether they provide the data of the reviews or not, but certainly if there is a scrapping methods, or there are methods which you can scrap these details from the internet, and then you can simultaneously utilize and see that what kind of positioning is happening on the mind of the customer. Also, it is very important to realize that we have to exactly understand the types of the consumer complaints. So when I talk about the types of the consumer complaints, the team has to be sure that what are the complaints which should be actually resolved on the priority issues. So for example, if your past data reflects, and that we will do in the present workshop as well, and I'll use the same example. So if your past data represent that a lot of your customers are dissatisfied, or they are rating you below the average rating because of the fact that you are not able to provide, or you are not able to resolve their billing issues, or their subscription issues, or their payment issues. So most of the negative feedback is coming on from that query part, and most of the consumers are actually complaining about your billing issues. Then you want your classifier to actually very promptly first identify the segment of the customers who are making complaints on these billing and payment issues. And the next thing you will want is a very prompt response to those complaints, a very prioritized response to those complaints, because in that way only the customer will feel that okay, their queries are getting addressed by the organization, or your company is addressing those complaints very in real time. So we have to understand that what are the types of the consumer complaints that
Honey, you are on mute. Yeah, can't hear you, honey.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that I am not on mute. So I just explain a lot of stuff. I'll just repeat.
No, just for last 30 seconds only.
Okay, so I don't know why that happened. Okay, thank you so much for actually highlighting that. Okay. So I think that we were on the part of actually type of the consumer complaints, and the initial description were actually listened by the audience. So I'll just repeat the 30-second part. So what I was actually addressing was the fact that we have to understand that what are the categories of your consumer complaints. Now, the past data or the past issues that your CRM team are had been capturing also plays a very important role or very critical role, because from that you can analyze that what should be the priority. Now, understanding the complaints and understanding that why your customer is and in what characteristics your customer is interacting with your platform actually helps you to build pre attempt strategies to actually resolve their queries before actually they come to your platform. And that actually leads to a positive word of mouth, that actually leads to more referrals from your customers, that actually leads to the loyalty of your customer. The customer will definitely do the repeat purchases because they can see that the post purchase journey is very smooth by your organization. Now, if you talk about sector wise strategies, for example, automobile companies. So in the service categories companies, or in the product and service categories companies, where the product is also available and you also have to provide the service for the product. Now, in that category, the asset is very high margin. So if a customer bought an asset which is very highly priced and it is accounting your customer a lot of money, and the post service are not good, in that case the customer will not be in that position to refer your service or to refer your product to other customers. So that is something that how critical these complaint classifiers help the organization to extract the potential or the critical customers and actually promptly reply or response to those customers, and also create preventive strategies in that case. So we'll first understand the types of the consumer complaints. So beginning from the product quality and defects. So if the customers often file complaints regarding the product quality and defects and malfunctions, these complaints can pertain to issues like substandard materials, manufacturing defects, product failures, and non-compliance with specification. So as a business leader, as a business manager, you have to understand that if the customer is complaining about the product quality, then how can you actually segregate or segment those customer queries, and you have to understand in your new product development, and you can also propose augmentation of your product, that if the customer is not happy with the service that you are providing, or if the most of these things happen when the product service you are giving and the product quality is not actually what the customer expects, and you can definitely cannot actually go to your product line and just replace your product. You have to actually augment your product in later versions, and that is very important for your new product development team as well. So you need to actually segment these complaints. Most of these complaints or most of these product quality reviews may happen on some social media platforms, and that's where social media analytics comes into the picture. That's where you have to keep monitoring that how your product description or how your product quality discussion is happening on these platforms. Now, the second is billing and pricing issues. We know that most of in India specifically, customers are very price sensitive. They want their queries, if they have something related to billings and pricing issues, they want a very prompt response. They want something which resolves their queries in very few seconds, or at least they actually get something from your platform that they will be reached within 24 hours, or they will be reached within 72 hours, or something like that. I'll just give you one example that I will not name the brand of the company. So there was a RO service company, and they used to provide services for on a subscription based model. where you actually recharge your RO every month and you will get certain liters of waters per month. Now imagine that if I am having an issue with the RO quality or with the product, that the product is not working, and I am on the verge to actually cancel the subscription and move and go forward with the other competitors within the market. Now that what that company does was that they actually make sure that they segment the customer's complaint on the priority index. So they made a metrics where they analyze that what are the critical issues which need to be addressed on priority, and what are the critical issues which should be actually, at least the customer should be reached from their CRM team in the real time, so that they get the satisfaction that their issue is resolved. So for, let's say, if the RO stop working, that is something which is highly priority metrics, because customer will definitely will not actually get comfortable or will not accept the product is not working, or the product fails somewhere middle of the night or something like that. So they make sure that the metrics is made where the customer is reached within, where the model is actually forwarding on the priority index, on the label index, and the CRM team is reaching to a particular customer, giving the satisfaction that your query will be resolved within one day or within few hours. Now what happens is that may not be this, maybe that the customer will be contacted or the query will be resolved within the few hours or within 24-hour window. But the initial interaction with the customer, if the customer files the complaint and the lead time where you interact with the customer is very less, that creates to certain kind of satisfaction, that creates to certain kind of positive positioning of your brand or of your company. Now the another kind of types of consumer complaints which happen generally is the customer service and communication. So a lot of customer service complaint encompass a wide range of issues, like including poor response time, rude or unhelpful staff. Now that happens majority of the time when you, let's say, you are having a Uber ride, and a lot of actually queries came once these companies which were providing services where the interaction of your customer is with the employees of your organization. Now that interaction is very important as well. So there the research says that a satisfied employee leads to a satisfied customer. So if your employee is interacting with your customers and that interaction is not pleasant, that interaction is not helpful, then definitely you need to identify that employee, because that interaction is going to cost you one customer every time. So you need to actually make sure that what are the characteristics of the complaints, what is the complaint which the customer is telling you. Is it regarding your customer service and communication? Then definitely your strategies will be focused upon that segment. Now the other part is delivery and logistic problems. Again, for the e-commerce sector, most of the time, for example, for the big baskets, all of the the platform, the demand platform aggregation models which you are seeing in the present time, now the competition is very, very tight. And the competition is just like that, every other company is going to give you some augmentation in your delivery. So there is Blinkit, which is going to provide you delivery into 10 minutes. There is Zepto, there is Big Basket. So these competitors actually play on the lead time when your product is getting delivered. Even the giants of e-commerce, if you talk about Amazons and Flipkarts, they also realize this problem they also suffer this problem, that how actually reduce the lead time so that the customer is getting their product within lesser time frame. So these kind of problems you need to categorize very separately, so you can focus upon actually working upon your delivery and logistic problems. Now, going forward, the warranty and after sales support. So most of the companies, for example, the automobile sector or the electronic companies, where you go and you buy a refrigerator, right? And you are provided with the warranty. Even most of the electronic products, the lifestyle products that you use day to day actually comes with the warranty services. And that warranty, service depends upon that once your customer complains about your warranty, what priority you are giving to that customer, what kind of positioning you are creating in the mind of the customer. So the priority index which you set on different types and characteristic of consumer complaints depend upon the past data as well. You need to analyze that till now, what are the complaints, what are the characteristics of complaint that you are actually having in your platform, or as per your product and service. So more technically, what a consumer complaint classifier does is it's a machine learning model and system designed to automatically categorize and classify consumer complaints based on their content or characteristic. It is trained on a data set of label complaints to learn patterns and features that distinguish different types of complaints. Now, labeled complaints is because you are actually labeling it once the customer comes to your platform, and generally when the customer go to your website and they interact with your CRM team, or they interact with your platform. So you are actually able to label them. Apart from that, if the customer is not coming to your platform, if the customer is actually putting reviews on some other social media platforms, that may not be actually labeled. So that comes into the picture of unsupervised learning, or when you have to extract the clustered method, or where you have to extract the information that what actually is happening or what kind of discussion is. Most of the time, the data which comes from your consumer complaint classification model are the text based data, because definitely you will ask your customer that what is your query, and why, what is the complaint that you need to register. And most of the time, if you have experience, you go to a platform, they will ask you that which category or which type of complaint you want to register. Is it regarding the billing? Is it regarding the product? Is it regarding the late delivery? Why they do that? To actually label your data and actually label it on the priority index, and to actually provide you a solution very appropriately, and provide you a solution which is very specific to your query. So this is something. And one thing that I also want to highlight is, most of the time in these regression models, you may actually be more interested into the specificity of the model. So the accuracy that you measure your model depends upon the fact that what is the part, or what is the segment of your customer you want to highlight. Now, in these kind of complaint classification systems, the more the more negative classification, or the more negative complaints that your customer has actually provided to you, the low rating customers are your gem. Those segment are your customers who are actually going to provide you a lot of insight. That data is something that you need to actually analyze very specifically, because that data is going to make you understand that what are the issues that are coming, and why the customer is rating your service or your product below 4, or below a certain kind of rating which you have provided to that. So the explicit part of the data is something that you need to actually make sure that you are highlighting, and you are making sure that you are generating insight from that part. And apart from that, you need to also make sure that what are the parameters you are checking for your accuracy of the model. If you are using a logistic regression model, then are you looking upon the sensitivity, and your specificity is not so much great. And if your specificity is not coming to appropriate mark, then you are actually losing your your insight, your valuable insight. So that is something that you need to keep in mind when you are building a model in that case. So a basic overview of the model, that what you do when you actually try to make a classifier, a model based on a consumer complaint, is you to collect the data, the initial step, then the next step will be the data pre-processing. Obviously, you will clean the data. If it is a text data, then you will pre-process the whole data to clean and normalize the text. And then it comes to feature extraction. Now, when it comes to, if you are using a normal machine learning model where you are deploying a logistic regression or a support vector machine model, or you are, using a TF-IDF or a frequency inverse, or you are doing sentiment analysis, then maybe the feature extraction may be very relevant and very smooth for you. But if you have a data which has been having lot of variables, then you will go for a deep neural networks. And if you go for deep neural networks, then in that case the hyperparameter tuning actually works you have to be very specific, and you have to be very careful what kind of parameters or what kind of tuning you are doing there, because it may vary. So a lot of parameters depend upon the characteristic of your complaints that are coming to your to your platform. So you need to be very your objective should be very clear. So once we'll move forward and we'll do the case, you'll understand that how the objective how important the objective plays a critical role when you solve a real business problem. Apart from that, the similar step we go with the training and validation. So if a machine learning model is trained on a labeled data set of complaint where each complaint is associated with a predefined complaint category or class, so in that case, it will be more feasible and the accuracy will be much more in this case, because your accuracy will increase because you have predefined complaint category or class. Now, how you actually come out with that category, that depends upon your specific, data set or your historical data set of complaints. Now, various classification algorithms can be used. As I highlighted, logistic regression, support vector machines, random forest are also used. Deep learning models like RNN and transformers can also be deployed, and it depends on the volume of the data. It depends on the level or the scale of the organization as well, whether the company is very new to the digital platforms or whether the company is a large organization, and they have been operating into the digital platform for a very long time. Apart from that, one thing which I would also suggest that you keep in mind when you go forward with these kind of classification model is, whenever you interact with your customer data or whenever you interact with your customer complaint data specifically, you have to make sure that you have to encrypt that data. You have to maintain the privacy of the customer. You have to do certain measures so that the privacy of the customer is maintained, because a lot of organizations are very sensitive about their customer data, and specifically the complaint or the queries which the customers are reaching to you, these are highly sensitive part of the organization. And very few times that happens is that these organization compromises on the privacy of these kind of data sets. In the next step, we do the model evaluation. You can check the model evaluation using the cross validation. Again, that I highlighted that the evaluation metrics such as accuracy, precision, recall, or F1 score also plays a very significant role.
Regarding 4 and 5 points,
Yes.
are we now using generative AI?
Yes. So in the present workshop, what I have done is that I have augmented the code, and we will be using the generative AI, and we will be looking upon that how generative AI has actually disrupted most of these classification model, and how you can use it according to your utility. So for example, today we are going to make a model which will be using the topic modeling, the parameters, and which will be using LDA to actually highlight that what are the categories of complaints which are coming to your organization, or what is the most most type of complaint which is happening. And if you can see that billing is such a issue that your customer is coming again and again, and it is making promptly complaints about billing issues, you can utilize OpenAI platforms, or you can utilize platform like ChatGPT to enable your classifier to respond to your customer when the query is accordingly surrounded by billing issues. So I have augmented the code, and we will also go forward with the code, Vivek. Okay, should I move forward?
Yeah.
And the deployment and the training part, once the model has been evaluated and deemed satisfactory, then obviously we go forward with the deployment in the production environment, and we test the model with the new consumer complaints that can be classified by inputting them into the deployed model. Now, again, it is important to note that specific implementation details and techniques may vary depending upon the chosen algorithms and framework. Also, it depends upon the quality and labeled complaint data sets, which play a very critical role in the performance of these classification models. Now, the most frequently implied models or the most frequently implied techniques which are useful in the classification techniques are the machine learning and NLP techniques. And because the LLM's model have revolutionized the way we used to make, or the way we used to make the classification model, the way we interact with the customer, or the way you can actually provide responses to the customers has changed once on the onset of generative AI models like ChatGPT. Again, I would highlight that the implementation of OpenAI models like ChatGPT depend upon the specific requirement of the model. So we'll see that in the present scenario, how you can implement OpenAI like ChatGPT to respond to your customer when the customer is specifically asking about you for the billing queries. So because our data set highlighted that billing is something which is the main reason that the customer is dissatisfied and the customer is making a lot of complaints around the billing issues. So one solution that you can provide is that you can use the OpenAI APIs and you can build the model in such a way that they promptly responds to your customers when it is categorized into the billing category. ML algorithms definitely have, such as logistic regression, support vector machines, and random forest have trained, they play a very crucial role in the consumer complaint classification models. And again, these models can also be augmented with the chat GPT models, and these models can also be made into and transformed into auto response generation, where your once the customer comes to your platform 24/7, the model is actually analyzing your data, your customer data, and they are promptly responding to your customer complaints, or they are promptly directing your customer that how they will reach, how their query will be resolved, and what is the target time the customer should wait for their query resolution. Again, the NLP in the text analysis plays a very important part because most of the complaints which comes to the platforms are in the form of text data. So you have to identify you have to apply a lot of text mining techniques to actually identify the text and actually identify what are the prominent topics or what are the prominent issues which the consumer or your customer is complaining about you. Again, the sensitivity analysis or the sentimental analysis plays also a critical role. But with the generative AI models, it has been a very pleasant now that you can deploy the model, and once your customers start interacting, the automated sentiment analysis can be performed at the same time. So the hybrid approaches are also coming because obviously combining ML and NLP is something that improve your efficiency, and you are able to classify your complaints. You are actually able to segment your consumer in a very specific part, and whatever queries they are coming up with your business. So ML algorithms utilizes the extracted the models work in the combination mode, where machine learning and NLP techniques are instrumental in the deployment of consumer complaint classifier models. Now, again, one parameter that I wanted to discuss, and the reason that I have augmented the code as well, because if you go with the CellStrat platform, the code will not be augmented with the generative AI, although I am working simultaneously to augment the whole code, because the Gen AI has actually transformed the whole scenario via which we can actually resolve our complaint, or we can resolve our customer problems. So generative AI models like ChatGPT have emerged as a powerful tool. Again, one of the use case of these model is the interactive querying and user assistance. You know that these models are pre-trained with a very large corpuses of data, and the kind of responses, the kind of interaction these model can do with your customers can save you first. If you are a small organization or if you are a medium organization, they can save you a lot of money, because again, you need not to deploy a human resource. Apart from that, the human resource can be assisted by the these OpenAI platforms or these ChatGPT models, that how to assist the customers. A lot of training of the employees can be done using these ChatGPT models once you have the pay as you go services enabled for your organization. So the interactive querying and the user assistance has changed drastically. Now the generative AI models like ChatGPT can be utilized as interactive query system to assist user in submitting customer complaints effectively. And at the same point of time, these models can also assist your employees how to interact with the customers, because a lot of organizations pre-train their employees that how they should interact with their customers and how they should resolve their queries, and what actually responses they should provide for a particular queries. So they can do the both kind of assistance. This interactive query capability improves the quality and completeness of the customer complaints. Another utilization or another use case that we are seeing with the generative AI is complaint categorization and routing. So AI models, Gen AI models can assist in the initial categorization and routing of the consumer complaints, because it's just that you have to call the API and you have to just you have to just provide the data, and the model will be actually able to just categorize initially when the customer complaint comes from your platform. So by analyzing the complaint text, generating relevant keywords or tags, these model can suggest potential complaint categories to streamline the classification process. The next is the sentiment analysis and prioritization. Again, it's all about that how quickly you are resolving the query, and it happens in with every businesses. Even if you are into a business of B2B, it happens that how what kind of priority and how quickly you are resolving your queries. And classification model works very effectively into prioritizing the index for your complaints. Now the generative AI model also assists in the sentiment analysis of the consumer complaints by gauging the sentiment expressed in the complaint text, and these models can help prioritize complaints based on their severity or emotional intensity. One use case that we are going to use in today's workshop is the automated response generation. So what we will do is that first we will identify that what are the category, or what is the what is the category of complaints which has been the most frequently done by the customers. Once we identify that what is the prominent category for which the customers are complaining very frequently in your past data, then we will enable the model with the automated response generation, so that if a customer, so for example, if a customer comes to your platform and the customer inquire about billing, so any billing queries will be assisted by the GPT model, and the customer is taken by the auto response generation. Now these specific use case depend again upon, for in our case the billing is one issue. Maybe in your case or in any other organization case, product quality or logistic delivery issues may be something that the customer is more frequently asking about. So you can make a automated response generation just calling upon the OpenAI model, and you can have your key which is available on the platform, and you can make sure that if the customer is coming up with this particular category of complaint, then the customer is assisted automated response, and the customer is provided all the information, and the customer is also directed that how the resolution will be provided, so that the initial interaction of the customer will become more satisfying. So even if the customer comes to your platform and it is making a complaint at night, or at middle of the night, then also the model is able to assist your customer. So these models can generate human-like replies, and providing the initial and the I would say the efficiency of the Gen AI models that we are seeing with the updated version of GPT, it is highly commendable. You cannot, if you are providing that kind of assistance to your customer, definitely it will create an impact. Definitely it will create a kind of a satisfying interaction with your platform. And the initial acknowledgements or suggestion for the the resolution can be provided with the model. And the automated response generation assists businesses in providing timely feedback to customers and optimizing complaint handling processes as well. So this is one augmentation that I have done, and which could be done into any classification model. If you are working even with the logistic model, then on the priority index you can assign the top priority index problems to the automated response generation, so that once if the priority index is satisfied, then the response is automatically taken by the by the model and by the GPT model, and the interaction happens via the chatbot. So let's go to the model so that we can see the code and we can see the use case. So for the present case, we are going to use Comcast complaint classifier. A little bit of description about the data set that I will provide is, so the model has been running, I think, so I will just explain the part and then I will show. So the similar pack is available on your CellStrat platform under the pack name of marketing analytics, because I need to I need to actually augment the pack. So that was the reason that I performed it in my Google Colab. So you can, I will post this pack on my GitHub as well, so that you can, access the code, if you like, from that platform, or I will augment it on the CellStrat hub as well. So first, let's talk about the characteristic of data sets. So this is the data set actually we are using. So Comcast is a internet and telecom service provider company, was a internet and telecom provider service, and it has been extensively used in classification models. It has been extensively used in making these models more effectively. So this happens that Comcast was a internet and telecom service provider company, and the complaints and the service delivery was not so good, and that was the reason that it actually resulted in shutting down of the company. And a lot of this data set has been acquired from that company, and it has a lot of insights because a lot of customer complaints are registered here. Now there are two sets of Comcast complaints that you can find out Kaggle as well. So one is the FCC complaint. So this is the subset of actually the Comcast complaints, where the complaints were actually given to the Federal Communication Commission. So the Comcast Consumer Complaint Dataset refers to the collection of customer complaints filed against the Comcast Corporation. Again, so if you can realize that if the company got if the company got shut down, then majority of these complaints are from the explicit part of the data set. So they will have a lot of dissatisfied customer because it's something that go forward with the letting down of the services. But it may not happen in your case, it may not happen in your business scenario. Maybe that your complaints are not overloaded or not flooded by negative or poor rating reviews. Maybe the complaints have a saturation, or they are having positive feedback as well. But again, I would like to highlight the most of these complaint classifier models work very efficiently if you have below rating complaints, because in that case model will be able to identify what is the actual reason behind those kind of negative rating or low rating scenario. Now, this is something that you need to first understand your data, because that is a very critical part, that you need to know that what are the characteristics of your data. And you have to look upon that majority of the part, if the text part is available, then what is the subsets that you can utilize as well. In the present scenario, we also utilize the Comcast FCC complaint data set, because that refers to the subset of the customer complaints that were reported to the Federal Communication. So they are specifically on the complaints that are escalated to the FCC for resolution. So we will start with importing the necessary libraries first, and as usual, we'll go with the NumPy, we'll go with the pandas, we go with the bouquet plotting, because we are going to use this to plot our visualization of the results. First, in the first scenario, we'll read the file, we'll read our data set. So I did mount my my drive with it, so I'm reading it from my drive. So we can see the head of the data set, we can see that what are the initial parameters that we are looking upon. In the next section, we are using the second data set. Because we are having these data sets, it is more visible that you utilize the data sets which have a lot of complaints, a lot of below rating complaints. So we are also using the Comcast FCC complaints 2015 as well. So getting an idea of head of the data set. In the next step, what we will do is we'll calculate the customer satisfaction. So just doing some kind of exploratory analysis, what I would suggest here is, what we are doing is that we are actually computing the customer satisfaction score. So now this is the ratio of the positive rating to the total number of the ratings. May happen that you may have a different formula of actually calculating your satisfied customer complaints. So this is something that I used it in this model, but it also depends upon the context that you are using it. You may use it in a different kind of a calculation to calculate your percentage of satisfied customer. In the present scenario, the CSAT is the ratio of positive rating to the total number of the rating. Now, if the CSAT score is 0.90%, it means that, you are seeing that I have applied the same formula. So the CSAT len, this command is actually giving us the calculated percentage. So now if you are getting a 0.90 score, if the CSAT score is 0.90, it means that out of all the ratings in the CADF data frame, that is, you are seeing here, most of them are below 4. So this indicate a negatively low customer satisfaction level, as only a small percentage of customers have provided positive feedback. So as I said that, we required this kind of data, and it's a pro for us that we are having this kind of data, where majority of the data actually giving us the below rating reviews. Again, what we will do is that we will try to actually just classify this. We'll try to actually color code it. So this is nothing, we are actually classifying, and we are actually labeling the data, and we are labeling it with color code as well. In this next part, what we will do is we are using the rating DF data frame, and the code creates a very critical plot using a bokeh library to visualize the same thing that we actually calculate in the previous data set. We calculated that majority of the part is below average review or below 4 rating review. So in the same scenario, what we are doing is that we are using a library to visualize the distribution of the rating. So now the wedges represent different rating classes, and the colors and percentages are displayed in tooltips when hovering over the wedges. So here you can see that, a lot of complaints are from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 is just, minimum ratings are above 4 or with 4 rating. So this is something that is a very appropriate data set, I would say. If you are using this kind of a data set in the real case scenario, it may not happen. Until unless you are prioritizing it on the initial interaction of your platform, then only it may happen. You are segregating the complaints initially when the customer rated below 4, then you may get that kind of a label data, and then you can just segment the data for a particular requirement. For example, you will only require the data set where the rating is below 4, or according to your rating scale. In the next step, what we are trying to perform a time series analysis, just to see any unusual pattern, or any kind of pattern which we can recognize from the customer complaints. So we perform the time series analysis using the CADF data frame and visualize the number of reviews per day using the same library. Now the code converts the posted on column to date time format and performs a group by operation to count the number of reviews per day. So if you see that we are actually visualizing on the time series data set, so you are seeing that a lot of complaints, a lot of count of the data or the complaints get high around after 2010, and maybe from 2014 or 2013 it got a peak, and after 2015 and 16 you are seeing an unusual peak, right? So this is something, an outlier for your data, because this is very unusual as the normal trend which your data set is showing. So now what we will do is we'll try to see that does this outlier. Now in the present scenario, because we are using LDA topic modeling model, and because we are identifying the significant or the critical characteristic of the complaints, it may not affect in the same way if you would have used a random forest or a logistic regression model. So you need to actually make sure that outliers, how the outliers are performing and what kind of characteristics the outliers are showing in your data set. Now again, I just wanted to see that why, because I know it happens around 2016 or something, because we can see that it is around the outlier is happening around 2016. I'm just trying to see that what is happening around 2016. But even looking at the text, it does not mean that there is any unusual problem that sticks out for this day, and we can move forward with the same, because we are going to anyhow utilize the text, and we are going to anyhow do the topic modeling. So we can actually use this outlier. We need not to actually resolve the issue, but it will not be the same scenario with your other models. Now, in this case, what we are using is we are creating two data frames and representing what we are mounting. We are mounting the FCC complaints on the consumer affairs reviews. Now the code prepares and visualizes the data and to compare the number of FCC complaints, because we are having two data sets. So we also want to actually incorporate the second data set. So that is the reason we are creating two data frame, and we are mounting the FCC complaints on the consumer affair reviews over the time. So this is something that you will get. So the orange bar is for the FCC consumer customer complaint, and the red bar is for the consumer affairs review. So you can see that the unusual pattern is similar. Maybe the outrage, some kind of outrage happened around, 2016 or some kind of, a lot of customers started complaining, and by that time, when, around 2016. Now we are categorizing the complaints. So in this code, we are actually using it to count the occurrence of each unique values in the customer complaint column of the data frame FCCDF. So we are actually categorizing it, and we are actually making it on the unique values, labeling on the unique values. So according to the customers, there are 18 and 42 different topics, which we know may not be the case. So we can use a simple string manipulation to get a better grasp of what customers are complaining about. So we have to understand that our aim is not to identify, not only to identify the criticality which is happening, or the criticality or the segment of the data set which is happening, but we also wanted to know that what is that topic, or what is that issue where this kind of criticality, or where this kind of maximum frequency is happening, or maximum complaints is happening around. So for that reason, what we will do is we'll define a function, and that calculates the percentage of rows into the data frame where the customer complaint column contains a particular topic. Now the percentage is based upon the simple string manipulation, meaning that if it checks for the presence of the topic as a substring within the complaint. Now in the second part of what we will do is that we'll try to code the function with different topics related to Comcast customer complaints, such as, Comcast, data, speed, internet, price, bill. What here we are doing is where we are actually making sure that we are trying to analyze that what kind of complaints or what kind of characteristics of complaint the data is reflecting. So that is the reason we are giving a different topics related to to your specific characteristic of your data set. Now again, it depends upon your data set as well. So if you have a data set which is around some product, now these may change as with your product. So you may need to actually adjust some kind of alteration with the code. So this print, so you can see that this is something, the percentage which has been calculated. Again, you are seeing that the bill is showing the maximum percentage, right? So more of a kind, roughly we can analyze that, yes, the billing query is something which has been showing a prominent topic into our present customer. So these are some of the libraries that I need to update it. Now, what here we are doing the pre-processing part. So as we have a text data, it is very important that you clean the data, you use a specific library to pre-process the part, which is a very vital step which you do in the text mining algorithms. Now, in this case, the customized stop words. So stop words are what stop words are. Here is the description as well. So we utilize the Spacey library to perform the text pre-processing on the complaint stored in the description column. Now the stop words list contains the custom stop words that need to be excluded from the text during the pre-processing. Now these stop words are specific to the Comcast customer complaints and include terms like Comcast, FCC. Now this part is very important. So
if we end up using GPT API or Chat GPT, we don't have to do bulk of the natural language
exactly.
preparation,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, exactly. So because this was a pre-made code, so I did not actually do the whole optimization of the code. But if you are using with the GPT and model, then you can do it once you call the model. You can just specifically make a function, and you can, via that function, you can do all the pre-processing part using that as well. So, but in the present case, I have not done that because I have just augmented the code at the end of the results. And it was something which was made before the GPT actually came with the utility. So this is something that you need to do very specific to your text data set. Again, this command is very important because I personally performed one paper which has been published as well. So I performed this analysis for a vaccine hesitancy communication project, and that was something that was very tough because in actual scenarios, when you get that kind of a text data, and when you perform these kind of modeling, it is important that you figure out. But with ChatGPT, again, that has become very feasible. You need not to do that. It is smart enough to actually identify these stop words or customize your stop words as well. This is the same code. In the second code, what we are doing is we are just retrieving the first elements of the doc list, which we have actually made from the above code, and which represent the pre-processed tokens for the first complaint in the data frame. So you're seeing contact, internet, technical support, month, resolve. These are something which is just reflecting the doc list or the elements of the doc list. Now, again, what in the next step we will do is we will visualize it on the scale of frequency distribution, so as to make sure that you will see that billing is showing, and billing and internet issues is showing a lot of frequency at this graph. So you can visualize it, understanding that what kind of pattern is coming from the data set, and what kind of pattern is coming from your characterization of your complaints. So this code calculates the frequency distribution of pre-processed tokens, and it displays the 30 most common tokens along with their frequencies in both text and plot form. In the next step, I have used GenSim, and why I have used GenSim is it depends on your utility as well. So this was something that I need to install at the same time. So we'll use LDA in the present model. Why we will use LDA is because a little bit of description for the audience who may be new or who may not have the idea of what LDA is. What LDA does is it is a probabilistic model that assumes that every topic is a bag of words and every document is a bag of topics. Now what it do is simple. Just see with this example. I have been experiencing frequent internet outages and slow speeds for the past week. It is very frustrating and I expect better service from your provider. Now, this is one snap from your data set, right? This is something that the customer is complaining about. Now, what LDA will do is, if you apply LDA, what this will do is it will tokenize it. It's pre-process the text while you have to just tokenize, removing the stoppers. And when you lemmatizes and prepare it, what it will do it will segment it, like it will create topics like experience, frequent, internet outrage, slow speed. Now the topic probabilities will show that what is the weightage of, what is the actual meaning, or what is the actual weightage which the customer is complaining about. So it is internet outrages is 70%, slow speed is 15%, customer service is 5%, and other topics are 1%. So this is something which is actually used to analyze your text very efficiently, and you know that what is the overall percentage of meaning, or what is the overall issue which the customer is trying to actually vocal, or which the customer is actually trying to communicate. Now you are training and building the model. So this snippet demonstrate the use of GenSim library to train and save the LDA model for topic modeling. And we check if the LDA model exists. If not, so we can, it trains with the LDA model on the corpus using GenSim. So after actually training and building the model, you go forward with the evaluation of the model. For the evaluation, we are using cosine similarity matrix. You can use, if you are using a logistic regression model, you can go with the confusion matrix. If you are using another model, you can go with certain kind of, using different kind of evaluatory metrics to actually know that, what is the accuracy which is coming. Now we need to create a copy so that we are not actually modifying the original data frame. So we split the tokenized complaints into the two halves, and the lambda function is used to actually apply and select the upper half and the lower half. Now what exactly these lines are doing is that, or these codes are doing is that they are to the respective corpora, they are resulting the transformed corpora, and for the upper and lower, and each document in the transformed corpora is represented as a list of tuples, where each tuple contains a topic ID and the corresponding topic probability. Now, basically, these steps are to make sure that the topics which are identifying how efficient those topics are available in all the documents, or what is the model is able to identify the topics which is showing the accuracy in the overall data set. So this is something that you do, and this function allows you to obtain the document topic distribution for each document in the corpus using an LDA model. If keywords is true, it also provides the topic indices with the highest weight of each document. So with the cosine similarity, you are seeing the intra-similarity and you seeing the inter-similarity, right? So intra-similarity is approximately 62% and the inter-similarity is 34%. Now, what does it mean? So it is very important that you read the accuracy of the model, because a lot of times what happens is the accuracy reading of the parameters, on what parameter you are taking the accuracy of the model, actually alter your results in the actual deployment of the model. Your model may be showing accuracy of 99% or 98%, but when you actually deploy that model, it may not give you the result that you wanted from that model. So the code is comparing the similarity between the document topic distribution to evaluate the consistency of topics across different portions of the documents. Now, what generally it means? Now, in the present scenario, intersimilarity refers to the similarity between document topic distribution of different pairs of documents from the upper and lower half of the dataset. And the intersimilarity of 34% suggests that there is a moderate level of similarity between the topic distribution of randomly selected pairs of documents. Now, we are seeing that intrasimilarity is showing more, refers to the similarity within the document topic distribution of the same document from the above and the lower halves. And it is obvious that the intrasimilarity of 62% indicates that a higher level of similarity between the topic distribution of the two halves of the same document. So we can go with this kind of efficiency because we are getting overall an average accuracy, and we can go forward. And obviously the data set were predefined, and it was we are having a data set which has been actually biased towards, which has been refined, so we can expect that kind of accuracy. So from the topic models, in the final step, we actually label the topic so that it is easier for us to actually discuss that what are the frequency and what are the topics which are coming, topic 0, topic 1. And you can see the most of the topics will fall upon the category of pricing and billing. Now, in the second step, what we are doing is we are just labeling for the the appropriacy and for the increase the readability. We are just assigning some labels to pricing. We are assigning label to billing kind of topic models, and we are assigning 3 to data caps kind of a topic models. And in this part, what we'll do a matrix, which is the DTM. What we are doing is we are creating a document term matrix. What it will do is that it will majorly create the DTM, and the DTM then converted to a NumPy array using the point to array, and the resulting DTM contains the values for each term in the text data, representing the importance of each term in each document. So this is something which is very going on within the within the code. And if you are someone which want to utilize the code directly, you need to understand that what is happening at each sector. So you may want to customize the code according to your requirement. Finally, what we will do here is we will define the topics, and we will also define the tokens for each description of the text. So you are seeing here that the code processes the document term matrix, extracts the top words for each document, and assigns the topics to each document based on the LDA model. Now the results are added to the FCC DF super data frame for further analysis. So you can see that now it has been tokenized as well. Okay, so just a minute. Now the next part is visualization. Why we are using TSNE visualization? Because the stochastic neighbor embedding is a very powerful dimensionality reduction technique. And if you want to visualize the data which having high dimensionality, so to make the visualization better and to seek insight more appropriately, a little bit of description is also provided, so that in what use case you can provide. I have also provided a comparison that if you use a network plot, let's say, so that kind of visualization you get, and which is not at all clear, and you cannot actually identify that what are the prominent topics. But again, if you use the SNE visualization, then you can very clearly see that a lot of billing related categories, a lot of complaints were regarding the billing, and a lot of lower rating were because of billing and pricing issues. So you are also able to see that, what are the top words, the old topic, and the description as well. So you are able to see that it is extremely slow, download speeds, average is less than 1 Mbps. So this is something, the description of the statement which has been provided by the data set or by your customers. Now from here, what I imagined was that, so presently in the CellStrat hub, you will find the code line till here. I think the network plot is also not plotted in that code. Now you know that this is the request, or this is the area, this is the characteristic of your complaints. This is the type of the complaints where the customer is providing you very low rating, and this is something that pissing or that is very unsatisfactory to your customers. Now what I have this, I just embedded for a billing issues. What if we transfer the customer to a auto response generation model? So in the same model, what we did is, what I augmented is using the OpenAI key. So I first installed the OpenAI, and this is not the original key. I've changed the key. So you need to actually make sure that you are preserving your key and you are not disclosing it to the audience. And once you have this key, you can import, you can call the function, you can create the function which we created in the above, in the above model. And via calling that function, what you can do is you can actually create an auto response model. So if the topic comes under the category of billing, what the model will do, it will redirect the customer, it will redirect the query to a auto response model. And a little bit of snap, this is something that what we demonstrated a system that classify a customer complaint as a billing issues, right? So in the above, we know that the classification is happening or the requirement is around billing issues. Calling the same function, we actually transform it under, if it comes under the billing issues, then it is generated, or the response are generated through the automated responses using the OpenAI ChatGPT 3.5 model. Now the code also combines the TF idea vectorization, classification, and language generation using the same model to automate responses to customer complaint, specifically focusing on the billing issues, because we analyze that that is something is the reason which is creating a lot of dissatisfaction. Now in this part of the code, we'll test our model that whether the auto generation or whether the auto response is generated. So I provided some kind of billing queries here. And you can see the model is actually responding to those queries. I received an incorrect bill. Can you please provide me with this? So yes, of course, please contact our billing department at this, or send an email to this. I am having trouble understanding the charges on my bill. Can you explain? Yes. So what use case is where, what use case we augmented here is that once you realize that, where you want to actually fit the GenAI utility, and it is very easy because you can use it on a specific subscription model as well, and you can alter your already working classification model, and you can alter it with much more efficiency. So these way, what will happen is, if a customer comes to your platform and if the customer's query revolves around billing, the customer is very promptly taken to the auto response generation, and via which the customer may get a lot of resolution. Maybe the customer is just finding some kind of difficulty which can be solved by the by the model as well, and some category of problems which requires human intervention, and that the model can direct to the your specific CRM team. Lastly, one use case that I would like to highlight is that most of the time we see the customer complaint of the consumer classifier complaint utility into the area of businesses, products, and services. But this case study, which has been published in an open access portfolio, you can also access the case, you can read the case. It is a public sector case where the public sector utilizes these, can utilize these complaint classifiers in a very wide way, and in a very wide utility, because a lot of generation of the text happens on these kind of complaints around the water, around the electricity, and all these data can actually enhance the way you are serving your your services, or you are providing your services to the citizens. So I just wanted to highlight that how automated in the same model, they have used the NLP, algorithm, but it has been enabled by deep learning, and especially the use of recurrent and convolutional neural networks, which in the present scenario may depend on the utility and the volume of the data set. And in the same scenario, the Dutch water utility services, in our case, in Indian case, the local municipal corporation may be the audience for this case, and how they can use these models to actually identify, that what are the intents and sentiments of the customer complaints are coming, what are the areas, what are the priorities where the most of the problems are coming, most of the water problems are coming. So this is something that, one case study which has been published and which can be a wide use apart from the business, conventional product and service business scenarios. And thank you so much for actually patiently listening to my presentation. And now we can open the platform for any kind of discussion. Okay, I'll just stop this presenting. Yeah, if we have any kind of queries or discussion. So, Satyajit, yeah, please.
So actually, I have one question related to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
As per my understanding, ChatGPT is using, I think, unlabeled data. Their labels are not, the training data set doesn't have any labels, as per my understanding. So how they are coming up with the labels once you provide, let's say, any prompt? For example,
You have to integrate with your training data sets. Yeah. So once you call upon the OpenAI model, obviously they will not be able to, customize according to your labeling of your data set. You have to integrate with your specific training data set. Now, what is the utility? Here are 2 points. First point is whether your organization allows you to use such kind of OpenAI models where your training data set may be, utilized by the OpenAI platforms. But again, the updated subscription-based model are keeping the privacy in mind, and you can only call upon the OpenAI ChatGPT API, and you can integrate with your own training data set, and then you can, label it according to your requirements. So that could be done. You just need, so the utility of ChatGPT model is that you are getting a pre-trained model which is so efficient. You need not to actually have thousands and millions of data set to make that kind of a model. It is already present. You just have to integrate with your own training data set, and then you can good to go and use it for your query resolution.
Yeah, you're right. But how much we can build trust in ChatGPT data set, because they have a large corpus. We know that, but we don't know how they have bought this data set or from where they are training these corpus. So I'm saying in that in how much trust on that.
Yeah, in that scenario, because the GPT models are currently into discussion of the transparency of the training data set, the responsibility of the model, how it is interacting. There is some kind of uncertainties which lies upon this. But again, I think the later versions of the GPT models will taken care of that. They will provide the description, and you can also you can also do a very rigorous testing of that data set. So one application or one solution to your query I would provide is that if you are using a subscription based model of the ChatGPT, you may be very specific on the training and the testing of that model on your data set, because the testing will actually give you the idea, and before actually implementing it to your environment, you can also test it in the launch state, and you can test it whether the accuracy and where the model is actually giving uncertain responses. So that kind of, I agree that kind of efficiency or that kind of reliability is something which is in discussion. But again, the only thing we can actually use it, that we can test it on our data set, and we can make sure that if we are taking their subscription based models, because see, I am taking this a free based subscription. So for definitely they are going to access my data, and definitely I'm not able to control, or I'm not able to comply to that kind of that kind of queries. But once you go with the subscription and pay as you go model, maybe that is provided by them. That's what my understanding is.
Yeah, correct. So you are using, I think, LDA, right? For training the for machine learning, right?
Yeah.
So if let's say your model is trained through LDA,
okay,
and you're using the test data for like to know that in which class your complaint is going to fall, right?
Okay.
So and if I'm using your OpenAI, I mean this
okay,
whatever you are using,
yeah,
OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
So their testing and the LDA testing, whether they are varying, I'm asking in that sense.
No. It will not vary. It will come. It will depend upon your training data set. See, it is just imagine it like a pre-processed, a huge corpus of pre-trained model, a large language-based model. But once you customize it according to your training data set, then it will definitely provide the responses to your queries according to your labeling of the data set that you have trained upon that, or that you have trained it. So once you have provided the LDA model, and once you have created a function of your LDA model, then definitely the model will comply to your training data set and your LDA specification where the categories are identified. So it depends. It does not mean that like if you, when you will call upon the model, then it will not integrate. I think that's what you are asking, if I'm right?
Actually, I was asking, for example, you were first trained LDA, right?
Yeah.
And you had some training data, and then you had some, let's say, test data. Let's say you had 20 test data after training LDA model.
Okay.
And you have certain levels. For example, 5 levels you have, like building internet and what I can recall, right?
Yeah.
And same you use through OpenAI, you trained in, and again you have tested it. Okay. So same 20 test data through LDA trained model and 20 test data through OpenAI trained model. Their levels would differ if we are using the both models.
Their labels will not differ. Labels will not differ.
Why?
Because you are taking the same data.
Labels, no, I'm taking about the predictions.
Yeah, prediction may vary. Definitely prediction
I'm asking
will
that.
vary.
Predictions.
Yeah, so you are asking the response of the model, right? The prediction. It will vary. That will vary.
Why it will vary?
It will vary because the corpus which, when you are calling an OpenAI and when you are actually calling that model, it will be more a human-like interaction, right? It's a LLM model which has already been trained to a large amount of text data. But when it comes to your, so let me just divide it. So in one scenario, what you are doing it, that you are taking your own training data set, you are taking your own specific test data set, and now what you are doing is you are training that model, a LDA model, on that, right? Now the model will respond on the basis of what kind of training, only what kind of training you have done on that model, what kind of query resolution that you provided to your customer queries, right? You will have that data set. So that will provide that interaction, not with a more generalized, or it will not work as efficient where you see the interaction like with the ChatGPT models. Now it comes to the GPT models. When you interact, when you call with the GPT models, they are pre-trained language models. So when you are just customizing the pre-trained language models into your specific training data set, they will answer in a more efficient way. Just imagine it, if you are using a DALL-E model, right? If you are categorizing an image, let's say you are calling upon a model which has already been trained upon cat and dog differentiation of the differentiation between the cat and the dog, and then you call upon that model, and then you provide your training data set, and then you say that identify, which pictures, or those are the pictures of dogs and cats. Definitely the model will give more accuracy. Definitely the model will be more promptly able to identify that categorization. But once you do it your side, once you want to train yourself your model, then you need to have that kind of huge amount of data. You need to have thousands of customer queries and the responses to particular queries. Then only the model will be able to learn that how to respond to those queries. You are getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So that is something that I can help you with. If you want to have a more discussion or maybe I'm not able to get to your query completely at this point, you can always reach me on my LinkedIn profile as well, so we can have a much more time discussion.
No, actually, I was also working on some projects, so I thought to ask you.
Okay.
That is related with ChatGPT. That is why I just asked you.
Okay.
Because the point is that ChatGPT also uses, I don't know how they are converting prompt to the response. It's still a black box.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's say machine learning algorithm, whatever machine learning algorithm. So we know how they are coming up with answers.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is my, I mean, the problem.
See, yeah, this is something which is in discussion presently, which a lot of actually experts are coming and saying that we don't know where our data is going. We don't know how the prompt is responding. And the OpenAI is also working on their end to provide the maximum transparency to their subscription-based model. They are coming with different kind of, subscription-based model where they can provide, maximum transparency they could. But again, this is something which has just disrupted the market, which has just come into the market. Now, the application part with the businesses, they have thousands of questions. They have privacy issues. They have issues like what if, who will be accountable if the model will start conversing into a different or an opposite way. So these queries are still into development, but again, I'm sure that the technology will get into a stable state where these model will be definitely be form a stable platform, and then we can use it. It's something like a cloud service. So before the cloud service, the business has to invest a huge amount of money into whole IT infrastructures. But once cloud came, you just have to pay as you go service. You were provided with just the utility, and you can use the space as according to your convenience. It's same with these models. So these models comes with a pre-trained utility, a pre-trained answers, so you can use them according and specific to your problem. But again, these issues which you are mentioning are into discussion, and I hope that they will get cleared in the future, and they will, I think soon it will be into the stable state, because I'm sure they are also working on the same thing, because for the business application they need to actually be transparent on these parameters.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you so much for your answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other you have? I can see some chats. Parminder, what is the plan of dealing with decreased customer trust? Now, trust is a very non-tangible, parameter which you measure. So, on what parameters are you measuring trust? Are you measuring trust on repeat purchases? Are you measuring trust on positive reviews? Are you measuring trust with, with the customer interaction? So trust is a very non-tangible asset. First, you have to define that what is the tangible parameter that you will measure the trust. If you are measuring trust on repeat positive feedback system, so net promoter score, I think you are mentioning one utility I would like to highlight is the net promoter score, which maximum of the websites use on their website. So you may have seen a pop-up which comes to your screen when you try to exit the website, right? And that pop-up requires you to rate your experience of the website. So if the experience is not good, now one analysis which is very helpful in identifying how to get a positive feedback system, or what is the reason behind the negative feedback or the net promoter scale is coming with a lot of dissatisfied customer, is that when you collect the data through your net promoter score, it also capture the the customer information. It also captures that what are the customer, what is the timeline, what are the characteristic of the customer that are coming to your platform and that are rating you below or not giving a positive feedback. One analysis which would be helpful in this case is, one is you can go with reinforcement learning, which is Markov chains. You can apply those because those solution works when there are uncertain situations. Second would be the decision trees. You can build a model where you can identify. So again, in decision trees, you will be more specific and you will be more interested to identify the specificity of the model. You wanted to highlight that what is the characteristic of the customer who are providing you the negative rating, right? And how can you predict that can the model predict that in the coming customers, these are the characteristics of the customer, they may give you negative rating. So these two solutions I am familiar with. I have done 2 case studies. Maybe that is applicable in your case. Try those solutions. If not, you can reach, and I think we can discuss that what is the data set that you are having. It also depends upon the what kind of data set you have captured from your feedback system. Deepak, yeah.
Hey, Honey. Thanks a lot for the nice session, right? So I have a doubt that is much of a predominant, or let's say, which is very primitive in terms of the analysis, right?
Okay.
So I come from a B2B background where my clients are majorly B2B players.
Okay.
And for me to let's say track the data, or let's say get the data to analyze is a challenge.
Yeah,
Right?
I understand.
There are multiple stakeholders within the organization that I'm interacting with, right?
Agreed.
So these are more of qualitative informations that we get, and kind of capturing these data is a big challenge that I face on a day-to-day basis, right?
Okay.
So any thoughts that you could share on how do I capture these data to move ahead or something?
Deepak, one thing which happens in B2B segment is a lot of data which is captured, I agree, is qualitative in nature. A lot of data which is captured maybe into the form of proposals that you are providing, or the proposal or the portfolio of your services and product you are actually, proposing to the businesses.
Basically the service part again.
Yeah, the service partners. One thing which I have seen which works into the B2B segments is if you want to, one parameter is what you want to analyze. Are you looking for, looking forward the relationship with your B2B customers? You want to make them a long-term B2B, service takers or providers. If you are looking for that kind of interaction, may it happen that your proposals actually, your portfolios work as a quantitative data. So there was one case where I could recall, there was one case study where what happens is that the businesses analyzes their proposal which they send to B2B services. And on the basis of A/B testing, which we do generally in the digital marketing area, we can actually analyze that what is the proposal, what are the parameters that B2B attributes which are responsible for getting a deal into a B2B service. So the proposals which you plan and the proposals and the portfolio which you actually, which you actually propose to your clients, that plays a very significant role. And analysis of those proposals, that, which particular characteristics, for example, in a proposal, there is a compliance part, there is a legality part, there is a time frame for which you are providing the services or you are taking the services. So these attributes significantly plays a critical role into B2B segments. Apart from that, trust, as I previously was discussing, that's also one thing, the B2B segment is very sensitive about. So you can also go for qualitative research. It is not something that qualitative research will not give you insights. If you are not able to collect the data into quantitative forms, qualitative research are very useful. And if you want to know more about how you can conduct the qualitative research, I can forward you some papers or some materials for that. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm active on that.
Sure.
So
could you please drop your LinkedIn URL or something?
So you can find, so I'll just provide in the chat board the LinkedIn link.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so great presentation. In interest of time, we'll have to, call it a day. Fantastic content by Honey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll just post the LinkedIn link, and then I think we can close it.
Yeah, I have actually posted it just now.
Okay, it's done. Okay.
So all of you are welcome to reach out to Honey on her profile and talk to her. So thank you all for joining. Thanks a lot, Honey. Very deep and detailed presentation.
Okay. So what if? So there is a query. I think I think this query I can, if you can reach me on LinkedIn, I can provide you the answer to this query. What if the customer gives both positive and negative feedback? Let's say positive to the billing case and negative to the product quality case. Then you will focus upon the negative feedback much more explicitly, because that is where if you are seeing that the positive feedback is something that may help you in building your brand in the future, but the negative feedback is something which will help you to strategize your, either you will go with a auto code generation or auto response generation, or what kind of team you need to assign to which area. So if you are getting a lot of negative feedback to the billing case, so then specifically you will be actually segmenting the data of your billing cases, and you will be actually, you can also filter the data where the rating of your customer is below 4, and then you can only analyze that data. Why this is important? Because that is something that you need to identify, right? That is the objective of your classification, that to know that what is the prominent complaints which are coming from your customers. So one thing, you can go with this idea. Apart from that, please reach me on LinkedIn. If there are some queries, I will try to respond ASAP. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Vivek.
Thanks, Hani. Thank you all for joining. See you in the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.